Hmm? Good. Yeah, I'll take you through that. In total, there were almost 2 million people with a trade license in the Czech Republic, including Czechs. So far, very boring.
Yeah, it's not a very interesting subject. But Jan really insisted on doing that. So it has to, your business has to be solid, but not too solid. It has to be just lacking something.
That might be kind of difficult to find a sweet spot. Sweet spot. Sweet spot. Now it sounds we only had people who are denied.
No. It's literally two people who ever got denied, I think, in the history of times. So you want to start your own business in Czech Republic? Great. Step 1, panic. Step 2, call us.
Step 3, be prepared to explain your business plan to 70 different people.
Welcome to Borderline Czech. It's a podcast hosted by me, Daria, and Jan. We are the owners of MoveToPrague relocation experts. And we know a thing or two about moving to the Czech Republic, starting a business, about how Czech people are, watch our other podcasts, and everything you want to know about the Czech Republic and living in the Czech Republic as a foreigner with no bullshit. So welcome.
Welcome.
Today, we are going to talk about something that a lot of people are interested in. It's not going to be as entertaining as our last podcast.
And nothing can match the last episode.
But it's going to be quite useful. Maybe it's going to be more useful than the last one. Because basically the last one is just exchange of opinions.
Yeah.
So today we're going to be talking about how to start a business in Czech Republic, what are different types of businesses in Czech Republic, what to pay attention to, what kind of ministries and offices you should go to. We'll just cover all of that.
Okay. And let's start with some interesting statistics.
You prepare statistics?
I prepare statistics.
Okay.
So who of you don't like numbers and statistics? Skip the next 5 minutes of the video or the podcast.
To the next chapter below.
But one of the statistics I have here, so one of them is the total number of foreigners with trade license. And I have very fresh data from the end of June 2025. So it's at the moment we're shooting this episode, it's 2 weeks old. And then I will give you the total number, but then I also want to go through numbers by nationalities, because that has some more, or it can give us a bit more perspective on how many foreigners from different countries are here and different fields they freelance in. So I think it will give us more food for thoughts and food for talking. So the total number of foreigners holding a trade license at the end of June 2025 was, can you guess?
Of foreigners?
Mm-hmm.
I would say 7,500.
7,500?
Yeah.
Almost. You're just 131,000 off.
So how much?
138,750.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So almost 140,000 foreigners had a trade license in the Czech Republic.
Okay.
Let's see the most common nationalities to have a trade license.
I think it's going to be first Vietnamese.
Good. Yeah, I'll take you through that. Maybe also one thing, a comparison. So in total, there were almost 2 million people with a trade license in the Czech Republic, including Czechs. So 1,947,943 people holding trade license in total. Out of that was the 138,750 of foreigners.
You lost me.
Yeah, 2 million people having the trade license and 140,000 foreigners out of that this year. But if we compare it to June 2016, the total number of trade licenses was basically the same, 1,990,000 compared to 1,947,000. But foreigners, trade licenses of foreigners went up by almost, over 60,000. Because in 2016, 85,000 foreigners had trade license, and now it's 138.
And when did MoveToPrague start to operate full time? 2016.
There might be a connection, yes. But okay, now the biggest numbers. I like mark the numbers that have more than, or nationalities that have more than 1,000 of trade licenses. So let's start from the back. Uzbekistan, 1,007 trade licenses, which was kind of surprising for me. I would not put them among the first 10 or whatever. United States, 1,732.
That's not a lot.
That's not a lot, no.
Hmm.
On the other hand, there are not that many Americans in the Czech Republic. It might be 8, 9, 10,000, something like that.
Well, that's how many trade licenses we helped opening.
True.
It's literally the amount of the trade licenses we helped open.
That's true. So that was kind of surprising as well to me, yeah. Then Great Britain and Northern Ireland, 1,736. So basically exactly the same number as Americans, just 4 people difference.
I know exactly who these 4 people are.
I don't doubt that. Then, Ukraine, 47,543.
Yeah.
But that already brings us to the topic of freelancing in general and the different fields, because freelancing, what people usually imagine, I believe, is English teachers, IT services, maybe some, advisors, coaches, something like that. But for Ukrainians, a lot of those trade licenses are also for construction. And then we can get back to it later, if it's completely illegal or not to work at a construction site as a freelancer or not. But this is also part of it, that not all trade licenses are equal. So
some are more equal. I heard that before.
Yeah, watch our previous episode as well. Okay, then
It's Orwell all over again.
Yeah. So then you were correct. Vietnam, 21,299. So half of Ukrainians, let's say, but still by far a very high number. And out of those, a lot of the trade licenses are for, how to call it, velký obchod, malý obchod.
Wholesale,
potentially, something like that, which makes also sense. So that was kind of interesting for me to go through the numbers, because it makes sense, and you see some other patterns there. Then Slovaks.
Are Slovaks really foreigners though?
They are, of course they are. And that is 26,000 something. I cannot see that. 26,000 something, over 26,000. And for Slovaks, I would say it's more like the Schwarz system we will be talking about. That's the same thing as Czechs do with the trade license. We'll get there later today as well. And Russia. 5,700, no, 5 or 3,000. 5,745.
And wait, only?
No, I was surprised that it was too many. So elaborate.
Wait, so how many Vietnamese?
21,000 something.
Yeah, that's not a lot. I thought Russia would be one of the first places.
It's a high number. 5,700 is a high number in these statistics, but I would probably not have guessed this.
Okay.
Of course, Russian community is one of the biggest.
No, just thinking what Russians do here, that's so the first who came to my mind were Vietnamese, because they all, especially older generations, they have businesses and they have shops and restaurants and stuff and wholesale and everything. Then Ukrainians, and also I was just thinking who does stuff here.
Yeah.
So I expected more Russians, but well.
Yeah, we have completely different views on that. Romania, 3,602.
I don't have an opinion about Romanians.
Yeah, I have no idea what they do here with trade licenses. But there is a lot of EU citizens having trade licenses. So I think it's all kind of similar to the Schwarz system, that they should not technically have a trade license. I don't think that EU citizens come here to actually run a business. Some of them, of course, they do, restaurants and different types. But I think in many cases, that's exactly what we'll be talking about. That's the gray zone where they should not be, ideally. So then Poland, Polish people, 3,086. So EU country.
It's getting less and less interesting, the statistics.
Yeah, it's the last 2 pages, just last. So Kazakhstan, 1,049. That was also pretty surprising for me.
Why?
I don't know. At first, I don't know how big the Kazakh community here is.
Quite big.
And how do they freelance? I would say students, okay.
No,
and
all
then
the shops.
You find the work.
The shops and restaurants and IT. They're all look how many small businesses are owned by Russian-speaking community here. A lot.
Yeah, I would never have guessed Kazakhstan potentially. I think.
No, a lot of places are owned by Kazakh people here. And a lot of development, developers are from Russian-speaking and Kazakhstan.
Okay.
A lot. All the realtors and developers, companies.
Building houses?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot. I want to say majority, actually. It's it's actually it's dominant in Prague, especially.
Okay. Good. Next on the list, Italy, 1,448. Yeah, EU. Hungary, 1,990. Majority of all these are in Prague, but there are some other parts of the Czech Republic where the trade licenses are also popular as well. But I'll not go there. That would be super boring. But it's not only Prague. And no, not the last page. So Germany, 3,338. Yeah, Germany is big. Czech Republic, for comparison, 1,809,193. And they always talk about it, how people start more businesses, and then how it's the biggest year when people closed trade licenses. So there is a lot going on with the trade license for Czechs as well. But if we compare the 10 years old statistics, that was kind of visible that the total amount is basically the same. Just foreigners are getting more and more trade licenses. Belarus, that was also surprising for me. 1,132. And Bulgaria, 2,113. So also an EU country. So these were the boring statistics.
We survived.
For those of you who skipped to this chapter, welcome back. So yeah, what else do we have there?
What about digital nomads?
Digital nomads.
Digital nomads is quite a new thing to do in the Czech Republic. Well, you probably know what a digital nomad is, but it's the concept to the Czech Republic was introduced 2 years ago, maybe.
If we look at it from the immigration perspective, yes, 2 years ago.
So it wasn't possible to get a digital nomad visa or anything like that. So it's very new. So now you can. Now you can be a digital nomad. So
if you're one of the 10 nationalities that are 11 at this point, I think, then yes. But that might be a good question, how many of these freelancers are actually digital nomads, because that's a huge thing. I wanted to say it's becoming a huge thing in the world, but I think it's been quite some time in the world, just not in the Czech Republic, but with the possibilities of earning through internet, doing videos and being able to travel the world, all that. I think it's going to be more and more popular. And it would be interesting to see how many of those foreigners living here are actually digital nomads, that they don't have a local job. I don't think there is a statistics like that, but it would be interesting for me. As for the digital nomad visa, that's still a bit limited. Because if you asked me 5 years ago, I would have told you that like we'll never have that, because that was where the Czech Republic was going. So now it's limited to, I think, 11 nationalities. The main like safe countries, let's say, where we want to have a good relationship with. So the US, the UK, Australia, New Zealand, Canada. Recently, Brazil was added to the list, and Mexico, I think, and then very recently India as well. But the digital nomad visa so far only applies to IT, so IT-related positions, and to marketing. We'll see if they're gonna open it more. But now, if you cannot get the digital nomad visa at this point if you're
Like who? Like I was also thinking like digital nomad is IT or marketing. What else it can be like a digital nomad?
like you can sell things, like drop shipping, stuff like that.
Okay.
You can, if you do videos, just like videos,
But it's
you,
like marketing,
you travel and stuff. That's
It's like
not
kind of
really
marketing, though. Okay.
It's like if
content creator.
content creator, yeah.
Okay.
And you can also, like, companies allow a lot of people to work distantly if you do some, like, something you do on laptop. But, I think maybe COVID also helped with that. And many companies realize that they don't actually need you in the office for the work you do. So, yeah.
Okay.
So far, very boring.
Yeah, it's like it's not a very interesting subject. But Jan really insisted on doing that, and yeah.
Now, I think many people are interested in that, and as you see, like 140,000 people have the trade license, and we don't have statistics about owning companies in the Czech Republic. That's also a big thing, though. So hopefully, this will give you an idea of what to do if you want to start your own business in the Czech Republic, what to be aware of, what traps not to fall into, and how it all works. So hopefully it will be useful, though not that interesting or entertaining.
Okay, thank you guys. That was a new episode of
Okay, so let's maybe jump right into the difference between, maybe let's start with employment versus business, freelancing, and or trade license versus SRO versus limited liability company. So where should we start?
I think the second one. I think a lot of people don't really know the difference between. So a trade license is basically a physical person who does business. So it's a physical entity, a physical person having an entrepreneurship license. Versus you will see SRO, which is a limited liability company, is actually a legal entity providing, services. So it's actually very two different types of entities, and it's two different types of businesses. The first one, having a trade license and being self-employed person, is quite easy in the Czech Republic. It's not controlled a lot. It has like a lot of freedom as well, I would say. Compared to other countries, it's quite easy to be self-employed in Czech Republic, while having a limited liability company is pain in the ass. Yeah, like a lot of people want to do like what we hear a lot. They're like, yeah, I want to like open it right away, limited liability company. Like, what should we do? And I don't know about you, but I always advise against it. I always say like, do it only like if absolutely necessary, because the amount of pressure Czech Republic puts into like limited liability companies, especially small companies like ours, it's insane. Like the amount of control, amount of like liability, amount of things you need to follow and do as a limited liability company owner is bizarre. So only go there if there's like no other way.
I agree. I think it's connected to like how it works in other countries, because in the US, in the UK, like freelancing and having your LLC might be actually very similar. You can have like one person limited liability company, and it can still be like easy to operate and easy to deal with. So that's why often I think people come here and want to do the same here, because they're used to it in the home country. But in the Czech Republic, there is really a big difference in everything, basically, between self-employment, the trade license, and the company or limited liability company, etc. I also usually, when you were saying, or where we were talking about like that one is for physical person, one is a legal entity, I usually explain it the way that if you have a trade license and you die, the company dies with you. If you have a limited liability company and you die, the company still exists and can keep operating and keep
Is it true though?
It is. Like,
But what if you're a sole owner of the company? It doesn't actually, because it will actually be
then it will depend, like, because how is it called? Like, heritage, not heritage. Is it heritage? Like, if you die, so then maybe your kids will get the company and change the ownership. But the point is that the company can exist without that particular person. So you can sell the company. You cannot really sell a trade license business because you would be selling yourself, and that's illegal in the Czech Republic.
I mean, is it though? Go watch our previous video.
And also, like, for the trade license, you need to actually be legally residing in the Czech Republic to have an active trade license. So if you're a non-EU citizen and you don't have a valid visa in the Czech Republic, you cannot really have an active trade license. On the other hand, the company, you can have a valid company, legal operating company in the Czech Republic, even if you've never been here, even if you don't have any valid visa, if you don't want to be here at all, you just want to have a business here, you can do that through the SRO, not through the trade license.
That's true.
Good. Okay. Like, I'm trying to see, we might explore this topic a bit, like the trade license. Yeah, generally getting the trade license is pretty straightforward. If you have a valid visa, or even if you're getting it and you need a trade license to get the visa, it's pretty straightforward. If you have all the documentation, the trade license can be valid or you can get it within a week, 3 to 5 business days. Then the registrations like Social Security, healthcare, income tax, that can take a couple more weeks, but generally it's pretty simple. If you want to pause the business, that's very simple. If you want to cancel it completely, very easy. It's easy and cheap to get it. The taxation is pretty low, and like dealing with the taxes is also pretty easy, especially if you can be part of the flat tax rate. Will not go there much, but it's also it simplifies it a lot. Whereas the company takes longer to get established. It's more serious because it also needs to go through courts and all that. The taxation is higher because generally you're basically double taxed there because you pay a tax as a company, as a corporation. But then if you want to get yourself some money, you also need to pay yourself some form of salary. So you're also, Daria's dying here of boredom. She's doing her best. I can see it in her face, but
my life is just leaving my body.
Guys, again, if you're listening, just it's Spotify, go to YouTube and watch this part because it was like that it was slowly disappearing out of this world.
I was dissociating.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, so you're double taxed because you need to pay yourself a salary as well. So you're taxed as a corporation and as an employee as well. And if you want to actually like stop operating, it's not like you just go to the trade license office and tell them to like close it and done the same day. You need to go through courts and then there is some legal process. So it actually takes a lot of time to close it as well. The main advantage of having the company is that you can have multiple shareholders, multiple directors. So if you want to have the business with someone, it would not be possible to do through the trade license because that's always attached to just like one person. But the company can be owned and operated by multiple people. So that's the main difference.
Not always a benefit.
Yeah. Anything personal you'd like to share?
All right. So, yeah, when you when you open a SRO company, you can choose how many people you have as a stakeholders, or how many directors you have, and how they operate as well. So, for example, if you have like 2 people or 3 people, you can state whatever you want. That, for example, every director represents the company by themselves, or that for some of the actions, that if they perceive some like amount of money or something, or like require written form, that always, for example, 2 have to be present, 3 have to be present, etc., etc. And even if your company is not active, not making any money, you still have to file like tax returns and basically tax returns.
Yeah.
So it's not like, it's quite like, once you open it, like you have to be like quite sure that you wanna keep it running.
Yeah. So if you're thinking about that, and I would probably put it the way that if you have big plans, like you plan on hiring employees and building a brand and all that, then maybe the company makes sense. But in most cases, it's easier to just start with the trade license, see how it goes, because you can always switch. You can have both. You can have the trade license and the SRO, or you can just close the trade license and switch completely to SRO. That's completely fine. You can also do basically the same things. You can hire employees as a freelancer as well. You can build your brand as a freelancer as well. So like if you're starting smaller, if it's just you and maybe you will have one person helping you or something, then the trade license generally makes more sense. And then if you grow, or you from the beginning know that you want to grow, you want to like build a business, then it makes sense to start the company. Which actually brings me to one topic, like related to visas. Because in the past, having an SRO used to be a kind of simple way to get a visa and a residence permit in the Czech Republic. Because back then, say 10 years ago, you needed to put 200,000 crowns as the starting capital. So without 200,000 crowns in your bank account, you would not be able to start the company. So it was kind of a guarantee that you actually have some money, and that you mean it, because you would not put 200,000 to like a Czech company if you didn't really want to do anything about that.
Yeah, it's around $10,000.
Yeah, which now is not much, but 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it was different. It was quite a lot of money back then. So it was kind of a guarantee that the business was serious. So it was also relatively simple to get a visa based on that. So a lot of companies or advisors or whoever recommended that, especially to Russian speakers and Koreans for some reason. It used to be very popular to open a company as a Korean and like get a visa based on that. But that's no longer like that. Because now you can start the company with 1 crown capital per person. So if you're the only shareholder, then it's just 1 crown. If you're 2 people, it can be like 2 crowns. So there is no longer, first, the limited liability does not really apply anymore, because like that would be pretty low liability, very limited, 1 crown. And it also like it does not mean that you are that serious about the business. It does not mean you're not. Sorry. But does not mean you are. So getting a visa solely on owning a company is no longer a thing. And generally, it's not also easy to get a visa as a freelancer or like as a business owner in general.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not my favorite topic, but yeah, because when you think about it, who approves your visas? Just imagine the person who approves your visa. It's not always someone so fun as we are, but it most probably will be someone who is like been in Czech bureaucracy for like years and years and years and years. So they're not always quite familiar with like trends and what people do, and they have to decide if your purpose of stay that you claim will be relevant and will be serious enough to get you a visa. And a lot of times it's not. So it's actually quite hard to get a business visa to the Czech Republic because of that. Because first you will need to show and prove that you physically need to be in the Czech Republic in order to do your business. So it cannot be anything online unless it's a digital nomad visa. And second, that you have like a solid business plan, that you already have some cooperations lined up, that you have like receipts to show it. It's quite hard. It's quite hard, I would say.
Yeah. And it gets harder if you're not a freelancer. Because if you're a freelancer and you want to do some freelance work here, it's kind of straightforward. Not easy, but kind of makes sense. But if you want to do it through the company, through the SRO, to the limited liability company, it gets even more complicated. I can give you one example. It's an old example.
It's my favorite example.
Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think it's the same example as I wanted to share. So our client, he bought a restaurant in the Czech Republic. It was 8 years ago or something.
Probably more.
And he bought a restaurant. It was not only a restaurant, it was also a limited liability company. And then based on that, he opened a restaurant. And before he could get his visa, he actually got his restaurant running. So he hired a manager. The restaurant was doing fine. So he applied for the visa as a director of that company. And they have an interview with him and asked him, like, is the restaurant open already? And you already have to show that the restaurant is already running and everything. It's it's not just like a plan or something. So he says, yes, I hired a manager. He's like taking care while I'm away, blah, blah, blah. And then his visa gets refused on the basis, because they always have to write you reason why your visa was denied. And his visa got denied because the restaurant seems to be doing pretty well without him there. So why would he need a visa to come if the restaurant's doing so well?
Yeah.
So I mean, like,
Fun.
like it makes no fucking sense at all.
Yeah.
So it has to, like, your business has to be solid, but not too solid. It has to be like just like lacking something.
Yeah, you still need to be there to do something. On the other hand, if the restaurant wasn't running, let's say he maybe didn't have it open, didn't have everything prepared, they could easily deny the application based on the fact that it's a beautiful dream, but not like really a business plan, because you haven't done much yet. So you need to kind of find a sweet spot where everything is basically ready, but you need to be there to, like, as the last piece of the puzzle. So you need to find a sweet spot, and that might be kind of difficult in some situations. If you're a chef and you're opening a restaurant, that kind of makes sense. But in other businesses, it might not be that straightforward. Or if you're just a business owner, investor, and you're not like normally taking part in the business, you're not the cook, or you're not like the managing director or whatever, that might be kind of difficult to find a sweet spot. Sweet spot.
Yeah, we had another client who wanted to open a shop, like it wasn't a wholesale. I think it was just like a reselling of Czech. I think it was Japanese. He wanted to resell Czech natural cosmetics and stuff. So he prepared the whole website, the whole business plan. He had some agreement with one of the like Czech brands and everything. So he had everything prepared, but it wasn't running because he wasn't allowed to run it yet. But it was a trade license, though. It's like it wasn't this SRO company, and he got also denied because apparently somebody was checking his website, and the reason for denial was that you couldn't click and add things to the cart to buy them. So it is most probably a scam. And we were like, but you're not supposed to run this business yet because you don't have a valid document. So sometimes it's just like, it makes zero sense.
Yeah. So it's a bit of alchemy to get it done. To be like it now, it sounds we only had like people who are denied.
No, it's literally 2 people who ever got denied, I think, like in the history of times.
So we usually manage to find a sweet spot, and this also helps us. If someone gets denied, the ministry needs to actually explain their thinking and why they denied the application, and that can give us a lot of like good feedback, and we know what to change next time and how the ministry is looking at things, so we can make the next applications better. It also changes a lot. Like everything in the immigration field evolves or changes or devolves sometimes, if that's even a word. So yeah, like the business visa applications were completely different 13 years ago or 15 years ago than they are now, and it will be evolving for sure. So we need to stay up to date, which is also what makes this business interesting. Okay, maybe let's now touch the topic of the Schwarz system, employment versus self-employment.
You are very passionate about that topic.
Yes. Okay, so how to start this speech?
I will start it.
Okay.
That employing people in general in Czech Republic is quite expensive.
Yeah.
So if you want to pay someone's salary, you have to pay almost double to the like in total. Because half of that goes to the government and half of that goes to the person. So if you want to pay someone, let's say 30,000, you will need to pay maybe around 50
yeah.
in total, which is like almost half, almost as much, And it's like, especially for like small companies, it's actually very expensive. You don't get like much like donations from the state. Not like Czech Republic is not big on like support of like companies. It's like it's not. Yeah. So I think like that's the main like stone.
That's kind of the starting setup that will make you understand more what we'll be talking about right now. Yeah, so if a company wants to hire you as an employee, it will cost them quite significant amount of money. And also as a Czech employee or as an employee in the Czech Republic, compared to other countries, you have quite a lot of rights. You have 4 weeks of paid vacation. If they want to fire you, there must be a serious reason for that. And if there is like a less serious reason, they need to pay you like 2 salaries, 3 salaries, 4 salaries, 1 salary, 1 potato, 1 tomato, like of your salaries as a like part-in gift or whatever. I don't know how to call it. Like if they say, okay, we're closing the branch, so we don't need you anymore, they have to give you like 2 salaries as a.
It has a name.
It definitely does. I don't remember that.
Well,
yeah, parachute, golden parachute. I don't know. They just like there is a lot of
settlement.
Settlement, maybe. That's probably the closest word. Yeah, might be 1 salary, might be 3 salaries, 5 salaries, depends on the situation. Yeah, and there is a lot of other advantages you can have now. The Czech Republic is thinking about introducing 4 days working week. So it's employees are in a pretty good situation, and so in some businesses, some fields, which is often true for hospitality, and now also for like tech startups, I see it there often as well, that companies will actually not offer you employment because of these reasons, but they will offer you self-employment. They will offer you a cooperation based on the trade license. And the main reason, as we've already introduced here, is to save on taxes for many of them. Because if they hire you as a freelancer, they want to give you 30,000 crowns pay. They just give you 30,000 crowns pay. And that's it. That's where it ends. If you are an employee, that would cost them additional 20 for the social security, healthcare, income tax, all that. So they basically, with this like small amount of salary, 30,000 crowns net, they are saving 20,000 crowns per employee. So multiplied by 20 or whatever amount of employees, and it can get pretty significant amount of money. Yeah, so they would offer you a cooperation as a freelancer or as a contractor. But that's where the Schwarz system comes in place, because that's not generally how it should be done. If you work as a full-time or at a full-time position for a company, then they should always prefer employing you and not hiring you as a freelancer. Of course, some jobs are freelance in nature, so it makes sense to work as a contractor. But in most fields, it's not like that. You wanted to say something?
Yeah, like definition of freelancing is actually having multiple clients and multiple sources of income. So multiple means more than one. And if you are a freelancer and you're only working for one company full time, that's basically a company ripping off taxes from the government. and not paying for taxes. So in case, like, definition of by the law goes, if you work in the office on the premises of the company, if you have their equipment as well, so it's like a phone or it's a laptop or something, you have a corporate email address and like a business card, then you're not supposed to be a freelancer at that company. You're supposed to have like a full-time employment.
Yeah, there is one also important thing, which I don't know how to properly say it, maybe superiority, whatever, that you should not be, because if you work as a freelancer, you are technically in business-to-business relationship. So there should not be a way for the company hiring you saying you have to come to work tomorrow 9 to 5. It's business to business. So if you want to come tomorrow, you can. If you don't want to come, you don't have to. You just don't get paid. So if they tell you, okay, do this now or come tomorrow at this time, that's generally also a sign that you are not a freelancer. You're not independent. You are dependent on them. And actually the government is, because this is still kind of a gray area, which is why it still exists, because the definition is kind of broad of like freelancing, but that should be changed. And there should be either 8 or 10 points, exactly as Daria mentioned, like, do you sit in their office? Yes, no. Do you use their laptop? Yes, no. Can you work as much and as little as you want or not? And if you at least once or twice reply yes, then it will be kind of clear that you are not in a freelancing position. So this should be changing. Don't know when. I hope it's not out there yet and I missed it, but it should be changing, and there should be like specific like lists of situations. And if you are in some of them, then you are not a freelancer and you should be hired as an employee.
But also it has like a lot of not benefits, but actually, what is the opposite of benefit?
Disadvantage.
Of like having this kind of relationship with your like employer is that if you're an employee, it's very hard to fire you. As Jan mentioned before, they have to give you like 3 warnings in written, blah, blah, blah. And only then they can fire you. If you're a freelancer and you have like a freelancing contract, they can tell you tomorrow, like, you know what, like, don't come tomorrow. And that's it. Like, and you have no security. They don't need to pay you anything. You're out. You're done. Yeah. You don't have more, like, sometimes I hear right now that they do offer people paid vacation, even if you're on a freelance contract, but it's purely from like a company. Like, it's purely the good intentions of like, of your employer. Normally you don't get paid vacations. If you don't work, you don't get paid. The same goes for maternity leave, for example. If you go to maternity leave, you get nothing. Also, because you have to, if you're self-employed, you have to contribute to like a separate extra fund. If you want to go to maternity leave, you have to pay extra. It doesn't go from your social security that you pay every month. You have to pay extra for that. So, like, it doesn't, like, it's not great. Like, if you're like very young, you know, like, and you don't worry about, oh yeah, and also if you go, for example, to a health leave, if you have like a sick leave as well, like, you don't get paid anything. If you get sick for like short period or long period, you don't have a right to receive any money from government or from your employer. So here is that.
Yeah. One good point was that also if you are employed and you go for maternity leave, then your employer kind of needs to keep your working position for you whenever you come back 2 years later or something. They need to keep the position for you. Obviously, if you're a freelancer, that doesn't apply. Also, when you are a freelancer, if you work as a freelancer, you have the trade license, then you need to do your taxes yourself. So you pay the social security on monthly basis yourself. You pay the healthcare on monthly basis yourself. If you qualify for the healthcare, that might be also a big difference for non-EU citizens. Because if you are a non-EU citizen and you freelance in the Czech Republic, in most cases, you cannot access the public healthcare system. So you will always need to have the private insurance, which is usually way worse than the public. If you're an employee, you are always covered by the employer. So you also have better healthcare, all that. And one important thing though is as well that as a freelancer, you generally try to optimize your taxes, which means that you use all the deductions you can, everything you can to pay as little taxes as possible, which is great because you don't have to pay that much taxes. On the other hand, if you need to prove your income for whatever reason, be it related to immigration, we talked about it, I think, in some of the previous podcasts. If you need to prove that you're making enough money to stay in the Czech Republic and get your residence permit renewed, all that, or if you want to get a mortgage, it's very difficult to do if you're a freelancer. If you're an employee, that's kind of clear. You have your salary slips that clearly state like how much is your net salary, and that's easy. But as a freelancer, it gets way more complicated, and especially if you're part of the flat tax, where you basically don't do any tax returns. So then also getting a mortgage or getting a loan or something like that might be way more complicated for freelancers. So maybe like the moral of this would be that if you it's very important if you come into the Czech Republic and you, as an EU citizen, for example, as well, because we went through the statistics and there are a lot of EU citizens working as freelancers here. So be careful about the offer you're getting. Make sure you clarify with the employer, let's say, if it's going to be like an employment offer or if it's going to be a freelance offer. And then also maybe ideally speak with someone like a tax advisor or also us as visa advisors or immigration experts to see how it's related to your situation. Because also, especially if you're a non-EU citizen, employment and self-employment are not interchangeable. So if you, for example, have an employee card, because you are an employee of a company, you cannot simply accept a freelance contract because that will not help you keep the employee card. That will get your employee card cancelled because you're no longer an employee, you're a freelancer. So you need to be careful and definitely clarify with the company what exactly will be the nature of your cooperation. And then based on that, you can make some decisions, but definitely be careful about this.
I agree.
Okay. This is very interesting topic for you, right?
I mean,
you love it.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's see. Now we've done a lot of videos and we've written articles about this topic, like how the visas work, all that. So this is kind of more to make you aware of the topic and like discuss some things, some general things. But if you want to know more about this, it might be better to arrange a consultation with us to just like go through that in more details and like answer your specific questions. Because if we wanted to go into this, I would very love to do that. But it would be 2 hours of like going into details, which would have like 2 views because no one would be interested unless it's like your very specific case. So I think we've given you a lot to like think about and like to investigate more. And if you want to know more, just get in touch. We'll be happy to discuss it in more details. Maybe we can read some of the questions people had. See if we...
Yeah. So first question is, can I open a company in Czech Republic without living there? We've already discussed it. Yes, you can.
Yep.
What's the minimum income I need to show as a freelancer? Now, as a freelancer, you don't need to show any minimum income. But if your stay depends on it, if you have a visa, then you do. If you're just a freelancer, for example, you're from European Union, or your visa doesn't depend on your income, you don't necessarily. Actually, we get that question a lot. You don't need to show any income. Like you can open it, you can pay taxes, you can pay social security deposits, blah blah blah. But you don't need to keep a certain amount of money coming into your account in order to keep your freelance license. If you don't make any money, you don't have to. You can just like, as soon as you pay, Czech Republic is happy. You're like, okay. But of course, if your visa depends on that, it's a different topic, and it's not really related to freelancing. It's more related to what kind of visa you're here on and how much money you have to show as your income.
Yep.
Anything to add?
I'm thinking if to go there because that would be how the amount of money you need to be making is calculated, and that would be another 10 minutes of me talking.
Yeah.
So just keep in mind that if you If you're just a freelancer in the Czech Republic and your visa does not depend on that, no one really cares how much you're making, as long as you pay the social security, healthcare, do the tax returns, all that. But if your visa or residence permit depends on your income, you need to be super careful as a freelancer about how you do your taxes. Because if you try to do the taxes the way that you save as much money as you can, great from the tax perspective, but most likely your residence permit will be denied because on paper, your income will be too low. So if you're in this situation that you need to use your freelance income to prove your monthly income for the partnership visa or for a business residence permit or anywhere else where you might need that, definitely get in touch with us and we'll be happy to discuss more because this is the most important part of it.
Yep.
Yep.
I also remember a client asked me if they have a trade license, if they have to send their invoices somewhere to like government every month. If you're a trade license holder, you don't. You keep an evidence of it. You can do like a little Excel table when you will put like everything, who paid you, how much, when, and how much you pay to someone. It will help you do your tax return for sure, but nobody requires you to show it to them. So they basically believe you. When you say like, okay, I earned this amount of money, they say, okay, fine, we believe you. Or if you have some certain like amount of expenses, you can also claim it from a certain amount, and they will also believe you. So you don't need to keep a track of it. Of course, if you have a limited liability company, it's different.
That's a different story.
It's very different. You have to be like you can't just. There's another question that maybe we can also cover. You have to be like really consistent with your like invoices submission and like evidence and everything. So this you have to be incredibly careful, and you must have an accountant if you have a limited liability company. If you're a trade license owner, you don't have to. You can do it yourself. If you have a limited liability company, you're required to have an accountant. And one more thing I wanted to say. Oh yeah. It's really different from country to country, but in Czech Republic, if you have a limited liability company or even if you have a trade license, doesn't matter, it's only so much you can claim as an expense. You can't even claim an expense going to like to a business lunch. Or if you buy like things for the office, like, I don't know, water or coffee or something, you can deduct your VAT from it, but you cannot claim it as your expense. So there's only so much you can actually claim as your expenses.
Yeah.
No, there's some people ask if they can claim their tram ticket as an expense. Like you can't.
Rent.
Rent is your expense if you're working from home. Like you can't. Like there's only like a very, very like little amount of like things you can actually claim as your expense. Office, if you rent an office, yes, that's your expense. But even if you work from home, like it's not your rent is not your expense.
Yeah. That's the question you mentioned. Yeah, if you really need an accountant. So for the freelancer, if you have like one invoice a month or something, then you don't really need an accountant on a regular basis. You should. I would recommend still hiring an accountant to do your taxes once a year. It changes a bit if you deal with other EU companies because then the VAT might be involved and that might require some monthly activity towards the tax office. So yeah, that would be a specific situation where to hire an accountant on monthly basis as well. But generally as a freelancer working for Czech companies, Czech clients, just once a year would be fine. For a company, then without an accountant, that would be very difficult to survive. So definitely that would be one of the things to definitely have ready from the very beginning and keep it in mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was a more informative episode with less opinions and more facts. I hope it was useful. Thank you for watching. Drop us some comments, questions. We're reading everything. We're very happy to come back to that later. And thank you for being with us.
Yep. Thank you very much. If you haven't, check the previous episode. That was very, very fun. And check all the other episodes we'll be dropping.
If you're like really interested about Czech mentality and how Czechs are different and just like go deeper into understanding the Czech soul, and if Czech people are racist, you can go and watch our previous episode. I think you would have fun with it.
Yep. Okay, guys, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And see you again next time.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.